Hey my friends, welcome. I'm Gwen. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'm going to be sharing with you woodland winter DIYs using thrifted, recycled, and Dollar Tree items. Let's get started. Let's turn trash into beautiful treasure using these two bottles that's been in my stash for forever and these two gorgeous napkins from Napkin World. We're going to make some beautiful snow globes. I've already cut out one section of the napkin and made a template of the front of the bottle. My template is to make sure I cut out the correct size of the section of napkin that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to pin that in place to make sure that it doesn't move around while I'm cutting it out. I do want to mention this is my second time doing this. The first time I put way too much Mod Podge, and whenever I placed my napkin down, I ended up tearing it, tried to fix it, big old hot mess. I just simply washed it off, so here we are starting again. So lesson learned, a thin layer of Mod Podge. Don't get heavy-handed like I do. I also want to mention that you do want to make sure that you are removing your extra plies. This is a 3-ply napkin. We're going to be reverse decoupaging, but you still want to make sure those extra plies are removed. Again, putting down a thin layer of Mod Podge. And what reverse decoupaging is, you're going to put your napkin face down onto your surface instead of face up. It's face down like you see me doing here on screen. And then I'm just going to use my plastic wrap and just very gently smooth out my napkin, getting out any extra Mod Podge that might be up under there and try to smooth out any wrinkles or air bubbles. Now, off screen, I did use a baby wipe and remove that excess napkin that was hanging off the edge. I let this set overnight to make sure the Mod Podge in the napkin was completely dry, and now I'm adding white paint from Waverly Chalk Paint. I'm going to be adding 3 layers, and I'm going to let the paint dry about 30 minutes in between each layer. This white paint is really going to help the image on your napkin pop. Whenever you look at it through the front side of the bottle, you'll see what I mean at the end. I can't wait for y'all to see the finished project. Now, if you don't have the time, just set it aside and let it dry on its own about 30 minutes. Before you add your next layer, you can always hit it with your blow dryer or heat gun, and that will work just as well. To save a little bit of time, I went ahead and completed the other bottle off camera. Now I did let these set again overnight to make sure all these layers of paint is completely dry, because we're going to be adding a layer of Mod Podge on top of the paint just to make sure everything is sealed in. And I also want to add a layer of this fine white glitter while my Mod Podge is still wet. Now if you don't like glitter, you can always use white sand and it will still give you the same effect, just not quite so shiny and glittery. Again, I set these aside overnight and let them dry before we move on to the next step. To complement our rustic farmhouse napkins, I'm going to add some twine to the neck of each of the bottles. I'm just using a tiny bit of hot glue to hold it in place, and then I'm just going to twist the entire bottle until I wrap that twine all the way down the neck, and again, use just a tiny bit of hot glue, just tap it into place. These snow globes were originally supposed to be Christmas DIYs, but time got away from me, so I decided to turn them into winter DIYs, and I just simply removed the red berries and added a little more greenery and some of these sweet little pine cones, and boom, you have a beautiful winter DIY. Although here in North Carolina we have holly berries, red berries, until late winter, early spring sometimes, so it would be perfectly acceptable to keep the red berries if you wanted to. And for a little pop of color, I like to sometimes hit them with some either white paint or snow text or a little bit of both, and it just makes them so pretty and snowy, and it just fits right in for a winter DIY. As you can see, I added some of the Dollar Tree faux snow into the bottom of the bottle. Usually I don't like to use Dollar Tree faux snow. It's just clingy and it's just not good quality. But in this case, I thought it was just perfect for this project because it's shiny and reflective. And I'm going to add corkscrew lights to the top of each of the bottles. And I thought the lights just reflected off of that snow. So pretty. I think it's just gorgeous. I love it. I hope that you like it too, and I would love to know what you think about it. In this DIY, we're going to create a beautiful centerpiece, and we're going to start with using this. I call it a candlestick, but I think once upon a time it was actually a lamp. I picked this up at a yard sale, oh my gosh, years ago, and never did anything with it. And I've left the screw in the top for a reason, and we'll get there in just a moment. But as you can see, it's white, looks like it's been spray painted. Now, I should have sanded this down, I guess, before adding this acrylic paint. This is burnt umber from Apple Barrel. I didn't, so I ended up having to give it about 3 coats in order to get some coverage, and then in some spots it still really did not want to accept the paint, but that's okay. We're going to distress it in just a moment. As you're watching this, you're probably like, well, she's going to distress it, so why is she adding 3 layers of paint? It looks distressed already with this 1 layer of paint. I don't know if it's coming through on camera, but it is very, very streaky. It just did not look good at all. So what I did, I put a thin layer of paint, set it aside, let it dry for 2 or 3 hours, went on to something else. I came back and put a second layer, did the exact same thing, came back and did a 3rd layer, and got really good coverage on that 3rd layer in most areas, but in some areas it still pulled the paint off as I would go back over the wet paint, and that's the issue I had the entire time of painting this candlestick. So I let it set overnight to make sure all the layers were completely dry before I used my little sanding block to remove some of the paint. As I always tell you, whenever I'm distressing a piece, it's absolutely optional. If that is not your thing, and it is not everybody's thing, and for me, I don't always want to distress a piece. This is going to be a beautiful woodland centerpiece, and so I thought that just stressing the candlestick would be the best thing to do this. And it's got such beautiful edges on it. It just calls, or at least to me, it just cries out to have some of that paint sanded away. Make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to show you how to turn this into a beautiful rustic winter centerpiece. I've already added the floral foam to the top of the candlestick. I had originally planned to just pop it down on top of that screw, but it wasn't real sturdy, so I did add some hot glue because we're going to be adding quite a bit of greenery. And the greenery I'm using is from Amazon, Dollar Tree, and then just some that I've had on hand from other projects. This beautiful greenery I'm inserting, I don't remember the name right off the top of the head, but to me it looks so much like rosemary, and it's that real touch greenery. It is beautiful, y'all. I'll have it in my Amazon store down in the description box. But anyway, after I get that added in, I'm going to add in this lighter green, and this is called pine in the description on Amazon, but to me it looks like cedar. I say it every time I use this in a video, but y'all tell me if you think it looks like pine or cedar. You know, I'm just going to continue to add in the different greeneries. And some, I like to add some that's up a little bit higher and some that's a little bit lower. That's just how I like to add it. I've learned this from Ramon at home, that it just makes your greenery and your flowers look more pleasing to the eye. Next, I'm going to add in some of this lamb's ear, and this is actually from an old Christmas garland that's seen better days. I just snipped off the best pieces, and the crinkly leaves, I just hit it with my blow dryer or steamer and then just flatten them out and just popping them in, and that's a great way to save money and to recycle some of your old garlands. I love to do that. And now I'm going to add in some of this pretty sparkly eucalyptus. I found this last year at the Dollar Tree. Just add a little sparkle to our arrangement. Y'all know how much I love my sparkle. But this is a rustic woodland piece, so we don't want too much sparkle. If you've ever used this floral foam, you know it's pretty hard. So I'm just using my scissors and putting a pretty good size hole, not too big, but a pretty decent size hole. We're going to put this stick in there, but before I do that, I'm adding some hot glue directly into that hole because I'm going to put that stick in there, and then I'm just going to hold it until that glue starts to harden and set up. You'll also see in a moment that I add some more glue around the base of this stick. It's just a stick from my yard that I've cut down to a size that I want, because our little owl that's laying there on the table, we're going to have it where it looks like it's sitting in the tree. Next, we're going to pop in this sweet little owl from Hobby Lobby. I got it for 50% off, and I want to try to make it look like it's sitting on the branch of that stick that we've inserted. And I'm just going to push it down in there, and then we'll add in some more greenery to help camouflage that stick that the owl is sitting on. Next, we're going to add in our adorable little baby fox, and he's from Amazon. Isn't he just precious? I'll link him down below in the description box for you. I've already put down a layer of moss to set him on, and also to help cover up that styrofoam. I also tucked in a few more pieces of greenery around him and the owl, just to fill in any empty spaces. And now I'm going to add in a few little pine cones and some of these little red berries. And the red berries are from Hobby Lobby. I got them this year, so they should still have them, and they were 50% off. I also thought it needed just a touch of brightness, so I'm adding in these little white berries, or at least that's what it calls it on the tag, and these are from Michael's, and I picked these up back in the fall. And I just wanted to give you a quick peek of what it looked like before we move on, and I show you how to turn it into a beautiful rustic winter piece. It is so easy to take this to a rustic winter centerpiece. All you need is some acrylic white paint, or you can use chalk paint if you want, and an old fluffy paintbrush. I'm just lightly dabbing my brush into the paint, tapping off most of it, and just tapping it onto my greenery. You can do as much or as little as you want. I did remove the little baby fox so I wouldn't get paint on him, and I'm trying to be careful not to get any on my little owl. I mean, you can, if you want, make it look like he's got some snow on them, but I just chose not to. I'm just very gently tapping onto the greenery, again, as much or as little as you want. While your paint is still wet, you can sprinkle on a little bit of white glitter or white sand to give it a little bit more of a frosted, icy look. I tried sprinkling some on, and it just didn't work too well, so I decided not to go that route. I did decide to add a little bit of snow text in just certain areas, like on the stick that the owl is sitting on, and then just on a few pieces of the greenery. And then I also, after adding some white paint to my red berries, I also tapped just a little bit of the snow text onto the red berries. And that's it, y'all. I think it turned it in just such a beautiful winter centerpiece that I can keep out for months to come. But I would love to know, which version do you like? Do you like the Christmassy version, or do you like the winter snowy version? For this project, we're going to be using these two glass rounds, and my intention was to use this frosted glass, and y'all, I didn't hardly have any in there. I thought I had another can out in my shed. Did not. As you can see, they're still pretty clear. So if you want a more opaque look, I would definitely give it about 3 to 4 more coats. I only got like 1 coat on each side, but oh well, we're just going to roll with it. I'm going to use the tops from those bottles for the base of our candle holder. And I'm just going to use some hot glue and go ahead and attach the glass to the top of this. You can use E6000 if you want a more permanent hold, or whatever your glue of choice is. And I know that the glue is going to show through because the glass, I didn't get it opaque enough, but that's okay with me because a candle's going to sit in the center and cover it up. I originally used the red ornaments that you see on the table, and as y'all know, when you use hot glue on glass, you can usually just pop it right off, and that's what I was able to do with the ornaments. And I'm going to replace them with these little tiny pine cones. And these pine cones, I got them in a really large bag a couple of years ago from Hobby Lobby. And I think it was like 70% off. So you really get your money's worth. I love to shop Hobby Lobby when they're having such huge sales. But anyway, I'm just going to hot glue the pine cones all the way around the glass round now. Again, I'm using hot glue because I decided at the last minute to do this video and remake this project. So I needed it to hurry up and set up, but you can always use E6000 or my personal favorite, Gorilla Gel Glue, and it will give you a more permanent hold. I will pop in a picture either somewhere here or at the very end of the video and show you what they look like with the red ornaments because they were so very pretty. I knew I wanted to add white paint to the pine cones to make it look like they were snow covered, so this part was a little bit of trial and error. As you can see, I started out with this little tiny brush and just tapping, and then I would sprinkle on the white sand, which is in that salt shaker, and I just did not like it. And that little tiny brush was taking 40 years, so I switched to a little bit bigger, fluffier brush to get better coverage. Then I mixed in the white sand with some paint, and I liked that much better, give it more of the snow effect. But I would put on a layer of paint, sprinkle some more of the salt, or rather sand on top of it, and then go back over it again with more paint. And I really liked the effect that it gave it. It just made it look so pretty and just like it's just sprinkled with snow. Now if I had this to do over again, I would definitely paint the pine cones before. Hot gluing them to the glass round makes cleanup a lot easier because I am a messy painter. But anyway, I am loving this rustic farmhouse vibe that I have going on with the bottles and with these candle holders. I am just in love with them. But you guys got to tell me what you think. Thanks so much, my friends, for stopping by and spending a part of your day with me. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment and a thumbs up if you don't mind. It's absolutely free. Great way to help support my channel. I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday season, and I will see you soon.